half-century of excellence. Peterson Body Shop, your best decision after a collision. Continuing our pregame coverage, next visiting with Carmen Johnson, the head coach for the Little Falls Flyer varsity volleyball team. And Carmen, heading into this one, 9 wins on the season already. The team is looking for their 10th win. Is that one of the goals heading into this evening? It's been kind of a mark that's a higher number than some of the years past.
Yeah, definitely. We were shooting for 500 this year. We knew we had a young group, but we thought we could pull off some more wins than we did last year. So definitely looking to win this one tonight.
And the Flyers have that opportunity. They're hosting the Pierz Pioneers here. Most recently had a nice win back on Saturday. How do you think the girls played in that matchup with Long Prairie Great Eagle?
Well, it was a tournament that we played in, and so we won. That was the championship game, and it was. They played very well. I was very proud of them. They had a good day of volleyball, and they were able to get 4 W's on the day, so that was good.
All right, and for the Little Falls Flyers here heading into this evening, who are some of the leaders on this year's clubs? It kind of depends on the different aspects, but describe the team, the setters, the hitters, and the identity of the club this year.
It's a really fun group of girls to work with. They're extremely coachable. I've said from day one, this has been one of the more fun groups to work with in recent years. A lot of coachability, a lot of energy, very young. You know, we have 4 seniors, and they have had great leadership this year. And our young girls have really made that jump over, and I don't really consider them too young anymore. So they've got a lot of experience under their belt. So, our setters are Kaylee Ginter and Taylor Jordan. This is Kaylee's 3rd year setting varsity, and Taylor's 1st year. She played last year, but not in the setter position. So they both bring a lot of energy, a lot of great leadership on the court, and their game is improving every time they step on the court. Allie Steinmetz does a phenomenal job for us as a libero. She's definitely in charge of that back row, and she tells the girls where to be and communicates very well for us and has been passing extremely well. Kirsten Knopik and Maddie Van Riesingham have been our 2 big dogs in the middle. They've got quite a few kills this year. Maddie just came back from a knee injury, so she was out for a little bit, but they're both doing a very nice job for us, terminating the ball. We've got Sammy Tembrell and Ellie Skizik hitting on the outside. They're both also very young. They've struggled a little bit to put the ball away with their consistency. They've got a lot of ball control. We just can't terminate a lot, so we're working on that with them, and we look for the next couple of years to be stronger for them in the outside attack. Amari Riley comes in on the front row for us and does a nice job on that right side as a lefty. She's got a tall girl with pretty good block, and then we've got Abby Poser coming in back row and this is her 2nd year playing as our defensive specialist, and she does a great job too.
And you mentioned a couple times at the beginning of the interview how this is a fun team to coach and the energy. Are there certain players that kind of lead in that energetic charge? I mean, who provides that attitude, that fun atmosphere the most for the Flyers? It might be overall a team effort.
Well, I think you'll see Taylor Jordan jumps off the court every time something good happens for us. So she's got a lot of energy out there. Ellie Skizik, again, does a very good job with her energy. So the seniors do a little bit more, just lead by example. They definitely talk a lot more than the other girls, but they're not quite as excitable as the young girls are. So I would say probably Taylor and Ellie lead us in our crazy fun celebrations.
And for Little Falls, sometimes you'll have ups and downs throughout the course of the year. Saturday was obviously an up, but if something bad happens throughout the course of the night, who do you look to kind of switch the momentum and make sure things don't snowball? Oftentimes that can be a downside in high school athletics if you don't have someone to stop that momentum.
Yeah, I would definitely say Allie Steinmetz and Kaylee Ginter. They both, their experience and they know they're in charge of the court. So if something starts to go bad, they typically know how to help stop it. And great leaders.
And we're going to be continuing our interview with Carmen Johnson next year on Little Falls Radio, 92.1 FM WRQ, and online fallsradio.com. Also tonight, partnering with Flyer Media Productions.
A great Pierz Pioneers and the Little Falls Flyers. Please rise as Madeline Anderson leads us in our national anthem. And now, let's meet our two teams, starting with the reserves for Pierz. Number 2, Amber Wojtala. Number 3, Rakanda Lashinsky. Number 5, Amaya Rushlow. Number 10, Katie LeBlanc. Number 12, Anna Taylor. And number 13, Ellie Fisher. Starting tonight for the Pioneers, number 1, Kristen Whitmer. Number 4, Jaden Schmea. Number 7, Ashlyn Liddy. Number 8, Hannah Creek. Number 9, Emily Dyker. Number 11, Jade Porter. And number 15, Emily Taylor. Pierz is coached by Stephanie Andrews. And for the Flyers, starting with the reserves, number 7, Josie Soviet. Number 15, Izzy Dukowitz. Number 21, Abby Poser. Number 25, Amari Riley. And number 26, Lauren Hanford. Starters tonight for Little Falls. Number 1, Taylor Jordan. Number 2, Alan Van Rissingham. Number 5, Kristen Knopik. Number 18, Kaylee Gitter. Number 20, Ellie Steven. Number 22, Allie Steinmetz. And number 24, Sarah Tenro. The Flyers are coached by Carmen Johnson, and she's assisted by Jess Kanowski, Jace Ruby, Lori Larson, and Tiffany Hartung.
Emily Daler, and they're going to be starting, I believe, Jaden Schmea as Pierz will be serving first with the ball. And then the Little Falls starting lineup, Robin, you've got for us?
I've got, starting with the setter, Taylor Jordan. Madeline Van Rissingham will be in the middle. Kirsten Knopik, the other middle. Kaylee Ginter, the senior setter. Ellie Skizik and Sammy Tembrell will be their outside hitters. Allie Steinmetz will be the libero. She'll be coming in for Madeline or Kirsten, depending on what their rotation starts out with.
And if you haven't had a chance to follow a lot of high school volleyball, here are the quick rules. You've got a best of 5 game series, up to 25 in games 1 through 4, up to 15 in game 5. Or you must win by 2, and it's rally scoring. That means a point is scored, whether you're serving the ball or not.
Yep.
So Little Falls and Pierz, boy, this is going to be a fun one tonight. Thank you for joining us wherever you're listening from, or perhaps even watching tonight with Flyer Media Productions. It will be the Pioneers starting to serve, and for the Pierz Pioneers, they've got, looks like this might be Hannah Creek who is serving for the Pioneers, and it's being returned by the Flyers. Immediately into the front row, a directional hit. This is going to be redirected. A nice put away by the Flyers from a few feet away. That time, the nice shot by Kirsten Knopik. She had her back to the net, and I thought she was going to set it there, Robin, and she just redirected it where they weren't.
Kirsten has really improved over this last year. She's become probably the most efficient hitter in the Flyers team.
And Taylor Jordan is the first to serve for the Flyers, and Pierz goes bump, set, spike, picture perfect. And it's finished off by the Pioneers' Jade Porter, the senior outside hitter. And we're tied at 1 early on in game number 1, just underway here on Little Falls Radio and Flyer Media Productions.
Allie Steinmetz dove to try to save that one, but couldn't come up with a clean hit.
Ashlyn Libby, the next to serve, and this time trying to set it near the net was Taylor Jordan for the Flyers on a return, and she got her right shoulder into the net, and once she made contact with the net, the point is awarded for Pierz. Yep. So Pierz, meanwhile, comes back with Libby again serving. Flyers get an opportunity to return this. Sending it over was Kaylee Ginter, but on the other side, a return set spike. Ashlyn Libby put it away for the Pioneers. She's had a couple of nice points. She started that point with the service and then finished it with the kill on that far left side. Next up for Pierz, once again a service, 3-1 now the score. Pierz jumping out early. Flyers are going to earn a point right there as Jordan set it up, and once again Knopik with another put away.
They've got to try to work on getting those passes a little bit tighter to the setter so that she can put the sets up closer to the net so we can see a little more kill action there.
Yeah, more power behind it. That was once again very similar to before. Here a double hit is called on the Pioneers as there was a girl that got called for the carry, just mistimed set.
Diker, their setter.
And now, meanwhile, the Pioneers returning the service of the Flyers. They bump it across. Little Falls gets it to Jordan on a bump, and then Knopik with a spike. That time the ball was placed a little bit better. It was in front of Knopik, and that allowed her to put more authority behind that kill.
She had a chance to take her approach into that hit that time, which gave her a much better swing at the ball.
As a setter, you're trying to put the ball in front to give the kill opportunity a chance there.
Just like that one.
And that was a very nice put away for the Pioneers. And that time Hannah Creek ended up putting it away. She's going to come out for a moment. She'll get replaced on the court by Katie LeBlanc, a defensive setter who's going to come in and serve for Creek on this particular point. 4-4, we're all knotted up.
Defensive specialist.
Oh, a specialist. Yeah. All right.
It's high tech here.
See, that's why we've got Robin Pullman helping us out on our broadcast. Thank you, Robin. Oh, and a bump set spike, a close point, but right on the back line. Jade Porter put that one away. And Jade's had a couple of nice points, whether it was set or kill. That time she roamed a little bit farther to the sideline, starting the points in the middle of the court. The Flyers with an opportunity to return this one. And Jordan set that one away, and it was tipped at the net. Or was it? I thought it was tipped.
Sure looked like it was.
They're going to say point goes to the Pierz Pioneers.
Got a touch over here, the line judge.
Yeah, they did change it. I sort of thought so, and I'm sure, you know what, our camera
yeah.
crew did a good job of capturing that action. For those watching on Flyer Media Productions, probably thinking the same thing. Little Falls gets that point. We're all square. 5-5 in game one of what we expect to be a very even night tonight.
Knopick with the serve for the Flyers with an ace.
Yeah, that time mistimed return. Katie LeBlanc on the back row for the Pioneers had an opportunity to return that, but it just went off the side of her arm.
Kirsten serves missiles, that's why.
And there's another one right there, a tough one, handled by the Pioneers. They do manage to try a set, but it was a double hit, kind of a carry action that time for the Pioneers. Emily Diker, the setter, right there in the middle of the court.
Kirsten is one of the 4 sophomores that Little Falls is starting on their squad this year.
And Little Falls has a relatively young squad when we look at them. 4 seniors on the club, but they do have a lot of youth and talent, and this program is coming in the right direction with double-digit wins this year and looking to improve in years to come. They've got a couple of very special seniors, but so far so good in this year. Here the Flyers trying to return one off the basketball hoop that suspends in midair. They do manage to play it across, and a double hit is called on the Pioneers as they were having a little trouble returning that one. That might have been Porter in the middle.
Oh, it was Rushlow.
Okay, so Amaya Rushlow.
She just came in to serve.
And here, once again, a bump set, and here's a little tap over. Close, nice diving play for the Flyers, a save by Allie Steinmetz.
Van Rissingham with the put away.
Maddie Van Rissingham, who ended up performing the Star Spangled Banner about 10 minutes ago, and boy, did she belt that rendition out a few minutes ago, and she's got the energy going here on this Tuesday night matchup for Little Falls, hosting Pierz in a really Morrison County matchup.
Ginter, one of the seniors, puts a serve across.
Steinmetz ended up setting it all the way across court that time for the Flyers to Amari Riley, the left-hander who came in.
Got another double hit called on the Pierz set.
And that's actually been about 3 or 4 of those we've seen this game, and they don't average a bunch of errors. Overall, 139 errors on the season, not a extremely high number. Oh, what a spike that time, right at the top of the net. You can hit it when it's on the opponent's side of the net as long as you get over.
As long as they've had a chance to hit it 3 times.
And Maddie Van Rissingham kind of put that one down and spiked it down. We've got a timeout on the court. Let's take a minute break too. The score is Little Falls 11, Pierz 6. We'll be back in 1 minute. You're listening to Little Falls Pierz Volleyball, Flyer Media Productions, and Little Falls Radio.
And comfort allow you to work with a higher level of confidence, speed, and efficiency. Learn more about the performance of new autumn construction equipment. Stop by Modern Farm Equipment at Pierz and Stock Center today.
92.1 FM, WYRQ, FallsRadio.com, and Flyer Media Productions all tonight broadcasting the game. We're just back into action, and Little Falls ends up getting a point. The Pioneers had a bump set, try to spike from the back row. Does that still count as an ace if you get the point?
It does, yeah.
It does, okay, so we'll credit the ace that time.
Oh, no, it doesn't. I'm sorry. My mistake.
Oh, and here a diving attempt trying to save the ball. That's Amaya Rushlow for the Pierz Pioneers after the ball was bumped into the net, and then she dove after it, but it came across the side of the net. It's got to go over the net and in play. Bounced out of play. Once again, point to the Flyers. They got 2 quick ones out of the timeout.
Kaylee Ginter serving a few points in a row here.
And for the Flyers, that's Van Rissingham right in the middle, spiked it down despite the diving attempt by Braconda Lashinsky. Diving after it for the Pioneers. She couldn't get to it. She was reaching at it with her left hand and got it right as it was hitting the court. And once again, another service point coming for the Flyers. Returned, and the Flyers having a little trouble, but Steinmetz did a good job setting that one up for Riley, who pushed it across with the left hand, and she got a point. Once again, Rushlow diving after it from the back corner, and the Flyers are doing a good job of placement with some of those point winners.
Ginter leading by example here. The senior setter running off a number of points with an ace there.
Yeah, that time she just put it right into the corner, maybe about a foot or two tucked inside the line on both sides, but Ginter with a close serve. The Pioneers let it bounce, and it bounced in. Point Little Falls in 16-6. They're on a huge run here in game number 1. Van Risingham with the set, but she got called for the double hit as she was trying to set it up for Riley on the weak side. Sometimes, right behind her.
Especially you can tell how it comes off of their fingers. That one came rolling off her fingers, so they're going to call that as a double hit because it came rolling out.
And here the Flyers, oh, a good point that time for the Pioneers.
Pioneer blocker stayed on her side and blocked it down. If she would have reached across, Little Falls hadn't had a chance to hit that ball 3 times yet, then it would have been a point for the Flyers.
And instead, Jade Porter is serving for the Pioneers. Another good serve, but it's a bump set spike and finished by Van Risingham on that other side, the opposite side as we're watching it here tonight at Flyer Gymnasium. 17-8, so Little Falls, you're 8 points away from claiming game number 1. I think Pierz and Little Falls, they're both ready for a long night tonight. I don't know if either team thought they were going to win 3 straight games against the other, but the Flyers are starting out well. Pierz reeling a little bit as another ace serve, and this time serving with Sammy Tembrell, and she's a sophomore outside hitter, and when she's on it, not consistency is what they're working on with her, but that was an impressive serve.
She's got a little baby jump serve.
And this time just pushed it long. On the baby jump serve, it was maybe about 8 inches long, but a good eye on that back line. I think Jade Porter was the one that was really close to it and watched it bounce at her feet, and that's good discipline there for the Pioneers. Now serving Emily Daler for Pierz.
Nicely by Tembrell.
And the Flyers return it over, and a quick bump across. Oftentimes you see those bump set spike plays, but Van Risingham crashed in, and Ashlyn Libby saw that. There was a little opening on the court, and she just tapped it across where no one was and won the point for the Pioneers. This time a service error on Pierz, as Daler was the right side hitter, sophomore, and pushed it wide. One
of the things that Coach Andrews had talked about too, serving and serve receiving. And
both coaches mentioned in their keys to the game, serving and passing, that was going to be the keys. Here, a save for the Flyers. Riley sets it up, and then it's pushed across, that time by Ellie Skisik, but the Pioneers return it so quickly, and the Flyers trying to play it off the net, run out of points as they hit it a 4th time, and it's a Pierz point, but both teams rallying to the ball and not giving up on the points early on. That's what you like to see in competitive volleyball matchups.
Rushlow made a nice little quick set in the middle there to Creek, and she was able to put that one in. Tough spot for the Flyers to play.
And here's serving once again the Pioneers. Now the Flyers had to adjust. Oh, that time 2 players very close to each other, Kaylee Ginter and Ellie Skisik, as Ginter popped it up in the air, and then Skisik had to try and get back. She had just hit it and had her back to the ball because she knew she couldn't hit it twice in a row, and the point goes Pierz's way.
Flyers get lucky on that one. Ginter with the overpass. She had to bump it across, and Pierz just mishandled it.
Yeah, Kirsten Hebler that time, who is the libero, a junior for the Pioneers, and she's in there to handle those types of plays. You're never going to make 100% of the plays, but an unforced error that time awards the Flyers a point. Really a gift from the Pioneers standpoint. A bump set spike, and putting that one away almost was Ashlyn Libby, but the Flyers do a good job. They're able to return it on a weak push across, but Pierz another bump set spike play. That one got a little deep, and then we've got a point that's going to come. Was it into the net?
Yep.
I think there was a player that tried spiking. Was that maybe Konopik that time? For the Flyers, who got the spike attempt, she got good contact on it, but the follow through, her hand made contact with the net violation. Pierz with the point.
Libby with a nice serve.
And Jordan able to get the set, and the Skisik put it away or Ginter put it away for Little Falls that time on the near side. It went off a blocker, but then out of bounds. Little Falls with the point, and 21-13 in game number 1. Play up to 25. You have to win by 2. Little Falls had that big rally early. We've seen some back and forth action for a large portion of the matchup. But now serving for Little Falls, I think this is Skisik.
Yep, one of the young girls.
And Ellie pushed it a little bit long, the sophomore outside hitter. She's not the youngest girl on the roster. They've got a few 8th and 9th graders on the varsity roster for Little Falls, but it's really mostly sophomores and up that are getting a lot of play time for the varsity roster. Pierz Katie LeBlanc will serve this one, and Steinmetz got down and bumped it up in the air. It eventually got to Kanopik, but a carry was called.
Seems to be the call of the night right now. There's a lot of those that we've had on both sides now.
You know, from a fan standpoint, you just want an even call and something where they're going to be consistent all night. And so far, they have been. Now a bump. This one's going to have to be pushed across on the third hit, and the Flyers misplayed a little bit. It might have been forced as it was pushed across. Kanopik got a partial block, and then it split between Taylor Jordan and Kaylee Ginter. I think the partial block, it made the difference, and in this case, the Pioneers win the point. Steinmetz with a bump and pushed that one across. Nice placement that time by Sammy Tembrell.
Sammy received the serve. Probably didn't put it to the setter like she wanted to. Steinmetz comes in and sets it right back to Sammy, and she gets a little roll shot to the middle.
Yeah, and she had that little jump shot, and it went right where they weren't. Awards a point for the Flyers. This one's bouncing off
Kanopik.
The basketball hoop and into the stands, the new bleachers here at Little Falls Gymnasium. We're not quite to game point in game number 1, but we're almost there. 23-16. Little Falls needs 2 points. Pierz needs to rally to avoid giving up game 1, but another service ace by Kanopik. This is back-to-back service aces, and if you're wondering, Kirsten Kanopik, she's only a sophomore for the Flyers.
About 6'2", with a chance to grow more.
She hammers this one, but it goes into the net. And that's a service error, awards a point for the Pioneers.
I think she was going for ace number 3 in a row there.
But it's still game point for Little Falls, so Pierz knows they need to rattle off a bunch of points.
They got to get 7 in a row.
They've got Amaya Rushlow, who's got a good serve and looks like she's going to win an ace, but it might be returned by the Flyers. It is. 3 bumps, you can hear the crowd's reaction, and then the Pioneers come back with the set anyways, and Spike put away that time. And I think that was Jade Porter, at least she was nearby. Might have been Daler too, but the Pioneers put it away. Now another very strong service, and the Flyers have to just hit this one across. They're having a little trouble with the serve, and back-to-back almost aces. These are rocket serves from Amaya Rushlow.
Here's built up a little momentum, which if they don't get this game, it'll help them into game 2. 24-19, Jordan with a bump, and then a block, and it's going to be returned by the Pioneers. Another block, and this one back into the face of Ashlyn Libby, who tried hitting it, cat-like reflexes, but it goes out of bounds, and that's the point game for the Flyers. They win game 1, 25-19. Van Rissingham with 2 big blocks in that series.
And let's take a 3-minute break. We're going to be back with game number 2. Little Falls took game 1. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Little Falls Radio, Flyer Media Productions. 2.1 FM, WRQ, fallsradio.com, and tonight with Flyer Media Productions on the local charter access and also YouTube channel. Little Falls will be serving to start game number 2 after winning game 1, 25-19.
Taylor Jordan starts out with the ace off the first serve.
Yeah, right there in the tough corner. Ashlyn Libby had a tough time with it. It might have went low off her hands on the bump attempt. It went sideways, and the Pioneers unable to return it. Jordan with another opportunity.
Probably would have gone out if they had let it go.
Yeah, that time Porter sets it up, and then it gets returned to Porter for a push across. Here Jordan with a perfect set, and the spike is blocked by the Pioneers. They have a chance to return it. They do, and from the near side corner, front at the net, Ashlyn Libby, maybe on her back foot, got that one to go cross court, and we're tied at 1 in game number 2.
Great defensive play by the Pioneers there. Knopick had a great swing on the ball, but they got a hand on the block, which was enabled them to dig the ball up and then send it back across. Steinmetz made a diving effort for it, but she couldn't quite come up with it.
Yeah, once again serving for the Pioneers, Creek, and now Knopick with the push across, and this one is returned by the Pioneers. Really nice play, getting that one up in the air and then bumping it behind her back was Ashlyn Libby. That one deflected off the ceiling, but it had a really wicked spin, and that time Daler unable to handle it. Or no, that was, Henna Creek unable to handle it as she kind of hit it downwards as it was head height, and the point went to Little Falls. But then on the service, it goes out of bounds, and we're once again tied at 2 in game number 2. Little Falls won game 1, 25-19. You need to win 3 out of 5 games. It's a best out of 5 series tonight.
Dug up nicely by Steinmetz. Jordan sets up Knopick again.
And now here at the net and getting underneath the net, doing absolutely everything she could. Jaden Schmea, middle hitter, a serving specialist for the Pioneers, but couldn't lift that one up. And the Pioneers surrender a point. Little Falls up 3-2, and Knopick is serving. She's got one of the more powerful serves on the team.
She almost serves it as a knuckleball, so you never know when exactly it's going to drop.
And this time the Flyers had a block by Maddie Van Riesenkamp. Great hustle play for the Flyers. They put it, it goes over the ribbon.
Never seen
still
that.
Into play. Now Ginter pushes it across. The Pioneers still alive. Now the Flyers with a bump, a tap across, and we play on. Porter, this one into Creek's hands. Now it's going to be set by Jordan. A spike, and this one by Tembrell. For our Flyer Media Production fans, they saw something unique. For the radio fans, there is a divider here at Little Falls Community High School that separates the gym, the curtain that suspends right in the middle of the court. That ball went over the curtain, didn't touch anything. If it touches something, it's out of bounds, didn't touch anything and crossed. That was a very weird point, but Pierz stays with it and wins. Now this one goes long on the push across, and Little Falls with the point as Emily Diker tried sending that over. She's a setter, but faked the set and pushed it across. Almost got the point, but just missed it. Maybe about 4 inches long that time.
Or less.
Or less.
4 centimeters maybe.
And now Pierz the other way will return this one, sending it across. Steinmetz with a bump, and it comes to Van Riesenkamp, who got some power on the right-handed put down. She got up in the air and then was able to hit it down, and unable to handle it, Emily Daler for the Pioneers.
Maddie's bread and butter is kind of that slide where she kind of comes in behind the setter. She's getting better at the spike that she just hit.
And that's one where the ball is coming at her and can't really walk into it.
She's had some knee issues in the past, which will give her problems.
And this time the Pioneers, as a spike a few steps away from the net as the setter. That time setting it was Diker, and she put it a little bit behind Daler on the near side, who couldn't put it in, but you want to be able to walk into that, trying to handle that set. That was just a little bit misplaced. Now the Flyers with a block, but it ends up on Little Falls' side of the net, so Jaden Schmea gets credit for the kill for the Pioneers, and score in game number 2 is Little Falls 6 and Pierz 4.
Maddie's got a, see, there's a fine line right there when you're trying to block them. You don't want to get too close to be in the net.
Yeah,
the ball dropped right in front of her.
You can't touch the net, but she blocks it, and then it just went on the Little Falls side. Here this time, Little Falls trying to handle the tough service of Amaya Rushlow.
Ace serve.
And she got an ace serve. You remember, she had a few of those at the end of game number 1. Steinmetz with a bump, then Ginter to Van Risingham, who this time was able to walk into it. That's her bread and butter, but she hit it into the net this time. You're never going to hit 100% of them.
Mistimed her jump.
Just working on the consistency.
Yep.
For Pierz, they continue to serve. Rushlow.
Yes.
Little Falls, Ginter did a good job getting that one up in the air, but miscommunication.
Somebody new this time. This was Lauren Hanfler in the game for the Flyers. Yep, swinging outside. Trying to find, that's one of the things the Flyer coaches have talked about, is trying to find some outside power.
And she's a defensive specialist, but once again, a service point win, and Pierz went from down 2 to up 2, and Little Falls has decided to take a timeout, and we will too. The score in game number 2 is Pierz 8, Little Falls 6. Let's take a 30-second break here on Little Falls Radio and Flyer Media Production. We'll continue game number 2 in a half minute. Q92, fallsradio.com with Flyer Media Production.
At Schomer Insurance, you can get the coverage you know you need now from people you know will be there for you when you need them most. We grow trust locally and provide local service at its best. Whatever the far-off future holds, we'll always be nearby. Trust in tomorrow. Contact Howie Schomer, your local Grinnell Mutual agent at Schomer Insurance today.
92.1 FM WIRQ and Flyer Media Productions. Little Falls is out on the court right now. They got Allie Steinmetz, Lauren Hanfler, Abby Poser, also Maddie Van Risingham, and it looks like Kaylee Ginter
and Sammy Tembrell.
Those are the 6 for the Flyers. Meanwhile, Ashlyn Libby is nearby. Brikanda Lashinsky out there. Amaya Rushlow continues to serve. She's won 4 points in a row for the Pioneers. The Flyers do get a bump set spike, and this time put it away. Really nice point overall for Little Falls by Maddie Van Risingham. You partially got to give the nice point to Little Falls because of who is at the service line. Yep. Rushllow's been doing very well for Pierz from that service stripe tonight.
Ginter with a great set on that play.
Sammy Tembrell with that jump serve puts it in, and Pierz a chance to bump it across. And Little Falls, here comes the bump set from the set that time from Ginter, and it was Van Risingham, I believe, trying to put it away. Yep. But put it into the net as it was a little bit behind her, reaching behind her, and that forced her arm action to angle the ball into the net. 9-7, Pierz back in front by 2, game number 2. Little Falls took game 1. Steinmetz saves a point for Little Falls, and they do send it across now. A miscommunication, and Pierz has a player down on the court, Libby, but she's standing back up quickly. Almost had a disaster there for Pierz as Amaya Rushlow and Ashlyn Libby, with her laying on the ground, she almost stepped on a hand, but I'm glad to say that no one was hurt on that play.
Great hustle by the Flyers in that one, sending 2 people into the stands almost to get it.
Steinmetz was able to get it
Porter
for
with
Little
a great
Falls.
swing from the back row.
Oh, and here comes our set return by the Flyers.
Allie Skizik,
the sophomore outside hitter. Sophomore class for Little Falls, very, very impressive. Kirsten Konopik, Taylor Jordan. Also, you're looking at Ellie Skisik and Sammy Tembrell are all varsity players with significant play time as sophomores. Yep. The Pioneers, Libby sent this one across. Ashlyn Libby, Ginter.
Skizik. She finds a deep
pushed
corner.
It across, and the deep corner was vacant. And that one lands for a Flyer point in Little Falls, down by 2 a couple points earlier. Now finds themselves ahead by a point with Allie Steinmetz, the libero for Little Falls, serving.
She's also probably one of their leading servers. Allie is one that can put the serve anywhere, just about anywhere on the floor.
And a nice bump across that time by Ellie Skisik as she swung her right elbow. Yeah. She kind of misplaced her time, but she kept the play alive. But then the Pioneers came back and won the point with a point off a hit by Amaya Rushlow. Yep. And it was unable to be handled at the net, so Pierz with another point, and we're tied at 10. Steinmetz with a bump, Ginter. This one goes to Konopik, who had that one placed absolutely perfect by Ginter, and Konopik with the hammer right down in the center of the court. Nothing Pierz could do about that.
The only way you can stop that is you have to get a block on it, and if they can't get a block on it, that's going to be a kill every time.
And Taylor Jordan will now be serving for Little Falls. And this one tips the net and then drops across on the Pierz side. A break for Little Falls as the Flyers win the point.
It's one of those rules I don't like, but you have to play with it.
Yep, and both teams will play with it all night long. 12-10 the score. Little Falls in front by 2 in game number 2. Amaya Rushlow with the set, and then this one is handled.
Great block at the net by Kanopik.
Hannah Creek is the heavy hitter for the Pioneers. She spiked it, and Kanopik blocked it back to Creek, who reaction, cat-like reflexes, hit the ball, but it went wide. Point Little Falls. Jordan serving, and after a couple of lighter serves, put some muster behind that one, but Libby sending it across the Flyers with the chance for the point, but the Pioneers handle it. They get a set. Now pushed across in Little Falls. Jordan set by Ginter, and Kanopik with the spike, but a block at the net. And Pierz, maybe they heard you, as Hannah Creek got a blocker right in front of Kanopik, and that was the only way they could win that point, and they did right there.
They almost have to commit 2 blockers to the middle or to the outside, wherever Kirsten's at right now. She's swinging really well.
And for Little Falls with a bump now. A bump set by Jordan, and the Flyers able to push it across. This one hangs in the ceiling for a moment, but the Pioneers are able to play it because it stays on their side. The Flyers now sending it across, and that time a spike attempt by Skisik, but it's returned by the Pioneers. Here comes a spike from the far side. Little Falls once again handling it. Jordan with a bump set, then a spike that's handled nicely in the back row that time by Kristen Hebler. And Ellie Steinmetz with a bump, and now a girl into the net. That was Jordan for the Flyers, Taylor Jordan, as she was trying to contort her body and make sure she didn't hit the net. Got it with the hip. Even though she kept her upper body out of the net, the hip made contact with the net. It's still a point for Pierz.
Yep, momentum took her into the net.
One of the better points we've seen by both teams back and forth all night. Now Jordan a set, and the spike in this one, a mistimed spike by Skisik, and it goes into the net. Point Pierz. And hey, once again, Robin, correct? Or have you heard this before? We're tied. Game number 2, we're tied. 13-13. Pierz now at the service line. Creek. Steinmetz to Jordan.
To Ginter.
And Ginter put it across, but returnable. And the Pioneers send this one across. A diving save that time by Jordan. Now a push across and push back the other way. It's on Pierz's side for a set. Here comes a spike. Jordan with a reflex bump save. Little Falls will just have to play this across, and Pierz sets up for another kill. Here it comes, the spike, and this one's deflected, diving after it, but not able to handle the spike of Jaden Rushlow. That time was Sammy Tembrul and Jaden Schmea.
Schmea was the one that swung that one.
Yeah, Jaden really put the hammer down just a couple feet away from the net, placed well, and Tembrul didn't have a chance. She tried for it, but just couldn't get there. Miscommunication this time for the Pioneers as 2 players go for the ball, and as both players were trying to bump, they actually hit each other a little bit.
Yeah, that's one as a coach, you can't stand those because you're both right there to make the play. You just have to communicate.
And one of the things we haven't mentioned too much, a nice crowd here in Little Falls, always is when you get Pierz in Little Falls. A point in play. Kanopik with a spike. Is it in or out? It's out of bounds on the far side, very close, but out of bounds. Point goes Pierz's way. But what I was mentioning with this loud student section and the crowd, it's a little tougher to communicate and talking to one another because you can't always hear unless you yell. You got to not only be talking, but almost screaming at each other.
Right.
A service error. We haven't seen that in a while from either team, but Ashlyn Libby that time for the Pioneers served into the net, and that ties the game up 15-15. This game, too, has basically become a game to 10, win by 2. Kanopik is serving for the Flyers. The libero Hebler handled it. Now a spike, and what a hammer that time, put away by Jade Porter.
It's a great swing from Porter.
That might have been the highest velocity swing we've seen all night long from either team. And Jade Porter, and Jordan had her hands at her chest, couldn't do anything about it.
It's a good thing she got her hands up to protect her face.
And this time a service into the net a couple of times here over the last few points that the Pioneers, if they can't win game number 2, that's going to be a storyline for them. Back-to-back service errors. That time guilty was Katie LeBlanc. Ginter serving. Anna Creek with the set. And this one is called for a double hit. It was actually Emily Dyker, who was setting for the Pioneers. Dyker right there in the middle. Yep. Opposite her is Emily Daler and also Jaden Schmea in the front row for Pierz. Serving is Ginter for the Flyers, who was taking a 17-16 lead. Little Falls on top of Pierz. A spike from the far corner, and it's out of bounds, they say. That was wide. Pierz is Jaden Schmea, and Pioneers, they were cheering. They thought they won the point. It was a delayed call, and the referees said, hey, it was wide. Point Little Falls.
I wonder if they thought maybe it was touched at the net, too.
Little Falls pushes this
Ginter,
across.
smart.
Oh, a brilliant save that time by Ashlyn Libby, but then the spike by Porter. She got underneath it and pushed it up, and it ended up going long, not blocked at the net. So point Little Falls, and now 19-16. A timeout taken on the court. We'll take a timeout here too. Game number 1 went Little Falls' way, 25-19. Game 2, Flyers in front, but a close game 2, 19-16. We'll be back in 30 seconds with more volleyball coverage. Little Falls Radio and Flyer Media Productions.
For you.
92.1 FM WYRQ, Corey Fink broadcasting the coverage, and pleased to be joined by Robin Pullman tonight too. Robin, it's been a good game. What do both teams need to do to win here, the final few points of game number 2?
I think if Pierz gets everything cleaned up a little bit here, they've got a couple of good servers coming in here in the next 2 rotations that they can run some points off, but they've got to be able to stop Little Falls from scoring.
Yeah, Kaylee Ginter is still serving, and right now in the back row, a nice save by Poser. It's sent across, then the Pioneers with a block at the net. A couple of players were up there, including Jaden Schmea, and they end up winning the point. Pierz does. 19-17 is the score. Little Falls in front, but Pierz is at the service line. Yep. And Amaya Rushlow, she's rattled off probably more service points for the Pioneers than any other girl tonight. Ginter with the set, and then trying to spike was Van Risingham. It was saved, but then it came back on a block by Emily Daler. It came back to Van Risingham. Her second attempt, she was able to get up, and the defense of Daler and the blockers didn't have a chance to reset their defense, and Van Risingham put it away. That takes the ball out of the service hands of Rushlow, and now the Flyers with a service ace. This might have been Tembrell.
Sammy Tembrell with the jump serve.
Yeah, and she got it right over the head. It was that in-between bump set type play and indecision, and the point goes the Flyers' way on a service ace. Tembrell, another jump serve. Couple of sets. Now a tap across, and this
nice hit from Daler.
Partial block at the net by Ellie Skisic, Lauren Hamfler, but the point does go Pierz's way as it stayed on Little Falls' side of the net. Hamfler and Van Risingham trying to make the block. A service into the net, 22-18, and that was Jade Porter who put that one in the net. A little frustration, I think, shown on the face of Porter, and you can understand why after surrendering about 4 points on service errors this game, and that's the difference right now. Steinmetz, service, but this one going to be returned. Libby, and this one is going to be sent across now on the third hit for the Flyers. Here's a chance to set. Here comes a spike, and it's saved
Great
by
dig from Tembrell,
and now bumped across, but it's going to go wide. Don't take that away from the good play by either team. Brikanda Lashinsky at the net for the Pioneers, and Sammy Tembrell for the Little Falls Flyers, making a defensive play on her hit. Good play all around. Now a bump, another bump from the Flyers. Ginter, and they have to just send it across on the third hit. The Pioneers a chance to set up a spike, and Creek was blocked at the net by Konopik and Abby Poser. The Pioneers couldn't return it, and the point goes Little Falls' way. The score is 23-19. Little Falls in front and 2 points away from a victory here in game 2 after already winning game number 1.
Back around to Taylor Jordan to serve.
Taylor, a right-handed sophomore, puts this one in. The Pioneers with a chance for a spike at the net. Maybe it was blocked, maybe it went into the net that time from Amaya Rushlow, trying to play that over the net, but it either went into the blocker, Konopik, or it was into the net.
blocker knocked it out, so it was a point for Pierz.
Oh, so it was the off of Little Falls, and point for Pierz. That's a big point, because now it's 23-20 instead of game point for the Flyers. Ginter sends it across, back row, and here comes a set for the Pioneers. Nice dig that time by Jordan. Ginter set it up nicely with a no-look bump. Now the Pioneers will bump it across. The Flyers with a set by Jordan. She pushes it across instead. The Pioneers go for a set but get called for the double hit, as we saw that happen a lot earlier, just rolling on the fingertips. It just kind of that mistimed. And if you don't hit it with the one instantaneous hit, double hit has been called consistently tonight. Game point coming for Little Falls. Ellie Skisic.
Nice save.
A bump
outside,
set.
and we got a double hit.
It was a carry, a double hit called, and that's game point. So the Pioneers, they played a little better there in game 2, but they had some errors, and it cost them game number 2. 25-19 was game 1, Little Falls. 25-20, game 2, Little Falls. The Flyers, if they win game 3, they would win the night's matchup. Pierz needs to rattle off 3 in a row. We'll see if they can do so when we return. You're listening to Little Falls Pierz Volleyball on Little Falls Radio and watching tonight Flyer Media Production. Back in 2 minutes.
Hi, I'm
And here Taylor Jordan with a bump and Knopick. Oh, and this one's blocked at the net by the Pioneers. Hannah Krieg.
Right off Ellie Skizik's noggin.
And she had a little fun with the celebration on the Pierz vantage point. You know what? I think a lot of folks are having fun. The players, the fans. This is a neat atmosphere for high school volleyball tonight. Taylor Jordan with the set. A spike by Knopick right in the middle. Partially blocked, but didn't matter as Knopick got enough velocity and oomph on that one to put it away.
Skizik goes back to serve now for the Flyers.
So as Little Falls sends this one across, diving, Kirsten Hebler saved it. The Pioneers, Libby sends it across. Allie Steinmetz. And now sending this one across, Sammy Tembrell, but she missed wide. She tried going cross court from our vantage point, the near side, all the way the far side towards the student body section, but it did not bounce in, missed about a foot to the right.
She was just giving the Cowboys a little bit of action over there in front of them, I think.
Yeah, I like the pink cowboy hat over there. They're having some fun in the student section. And this is Sammy Tembrell. This was a spike partially deflected at the net, and Tembrell given credit with the kill for the Flyers here tonight.
I don't even think it made a difference that it was partially blocked. I think it was in anyway.
Yeah, for Little Falls, you're looking at 4 wins on Saturday, and all of a sudden, they can rattle this one off here tonight. They'd be looking at 5 straight victories. And this one is a service ace by Konopik. It bounced in. And the Pioneers had a chance at it, but thought maybe that was going long. They watched it. It ended up bouncing right in there.
It's Kirsten's 4th ace tonight on the serve line.
So Konopik will eye up another serve, the sophomore right-handed hitter. The Pioneers send this one across. It was not blocked at the net. And it went wide. Point to Little Falls.
She may have jumped too high. She cut it too far down on her hand, on her arm instead of at the wrist, her hand area.
Yeah, that was Jaden Schmea for the Pierz Pioneers. Now setting at the net. This is Diker. Looked down for a second, but the point ended up getting won by the Flyers. What happened there, Robin?
She didn't get it across the net. It was it would be an error, hitting error.
A hitting error, so the error is kind of compounding by the Pioneers here tonight. A block at the net on a spike attempt that time, and it ends up getting the point for Emily Daler, who was right at the middle of the court, turned and put that one off. Might have been Konopik or Van Risingham.
Konopik's in the back row, so it would be, she couldn't come up to be a blocker at that point. When you're in the back row, it'd be illegal to play a ball over the net.
Okay, Van Risingham is looking to spike this one here. And this one is going to be bumped up, and the Pioneers will need to kind of send it across, one-handed push. Steinmetz with a set towards the net. The Flyers did a good job of avoiding the net, and the Pioneers send this one back across Taylor Jordan. And now Van Risingham with the tap, and it's saved off the ground. The Pioneers continue the point. Taylor Jordan sends this across, comes back. Van Risingham. Now the Pioneers at the net. They save another one. A set by Rushlow, tap across, a diving bump for the Flyers, but it goes wide. Point won by Pierz.
We call that save a pancake save, Corey, where she gets the hand right on the floor. The ball bounces off the hand right there. That's called a pancake. Beautifully played.
You don't even play it with a fist. You just let it bounce off the flat hand. A better chance of controlling. Now Little Falls. Ooh. That was almost a good play that time. Kaylee Ginter had a ball that went right at her midsection off a misplayed bump attempt, but then she just kind of pushed it across but got called for the carry. Now the Pioneers with a service here. This one is Hampler that sends it across, or Tembrell on the near side. And it ends up bouncing right in front of Rushlow for the Pioneers.
It's a big point for the Flyers to get, as Rushlow was at the serve line at the time. She's a good server for the Pioneers. And nice to get the ball out of her hands.
And Pierz's vantage point, they're thinking the exact opposite. They need to start rattling some points off because they find themselves down by 2 in a game they need to win to continue this matchup tonight. For the Flyers, a bump across from the back service row will allow the Pioneers to set this up. They spike it, and it bounces in, finding the corner, Lashinsky. A sophomore outside hitter, Brakenda Lashinsky. And she just played that over the defense. It bounced right on the line.
Couldn't place it in a better spot.
Yeah, it caught the sideline and end line. Point to Pierz. But then a service error this time for Pierz Jade Porter.
That's 2 in a row. One toward the end of last game, and this first one for Porter this game. She just has to shake that off and come back with the next time. She'll get another chance. She has to be confident enough that she'll get another opportunity.
Yeah. And Porter here, that ball was hit right back at her. Ginter sets it up now. Van Risingham with the spike and puts it in the middle of the court, back row, bouncing at the feet of Rushlow. for the Pioneers point. Little Falls 9-6 in game number 3. Little Falls won games 1 and 2, a best of 5 series. If Pierz wins game 3, we play game 4, and if necessary, game 5. But otherwise, if Little Falls wins 1, they win the match. Ginter with a set, and now this is Riley checking back into the match. The left-handed hit, but it's returned by the Pioneers. Another set, this time a spike by Van Risingham, hit up in the air, then diving after it. A little bit of a floor burn for Jaden Schmea, but she couldn't get there in time to send it back to some of her help. And
great effort. I love the diving. I mean, the kids are out there laying it on the floor. It's awesome.
Seeing some handshakes across by both teams, keeping each other in the game. Now a send across, and this one is spiked down by the Flyers on the third hit.
Yep.
Van
so
Risingham.
It was okay that she did that. Yeah, Maddie reached across.
She reached across, got the ball when it was entirely on Pierz's side, but they had hit it 3 times, so that's the rule. Now a bump, this one a spike from the back row coming up, and this one is hit long by Porter. Point Little Falls, and now Little Falls up 12-6.
I like the aggressive play, Corey, but they need to get the ball in to be able to get the serve back to put points on the board here.
Now for the Pioneers, they need a defensive return, but can't get it this time as Katie LeBlanc dove after it, but Sammy Tembrell, what a game for her.
She's run off about 4 or 5 points in a row here.
And she got a service ace there on the last point, 13-6, and another service ace. This time in front of Hebler, over the front line, and then just bouncing, dying right there in the middle of the court.
She had beautiful top spin on that one.
Yeah, so a good hit that time by Tembrell. The ace, back-to-back aces, and the Pioneers take a timeout. We'll take a 30-second break, too. The score is Little Falls 14, Pierz 6. Back in 30 seconds, Flyer Media Productions and Little Falls Radio.
You're saying it's true. Help you through the process while providing you with quality repair and quality service, always guaranteed. Insurance recommended, customer preferred, Homerson Collision Center.
Little Falls Radio and Flyer Media Productions. When we went to the break, it was back-to-back service aces for Tembrell, and as we come out of the break, we saw another one. So Tembrell there with another service ace, 3 in a row dating back to before the timeout. And now this time a bump save by Libby. She ends up getting a chance at it, but it's blocked at the net by both Van Risingham and Riley for the Flyers. Riley and Van Risingham are 2 of the seniors, only 4 seniors on the club this year for Little Falls. Tembrell with another serve. Pierz trying to break that string. Tembrell ends up bumping from the backside. Now it's returned. Pierz saved a spike that time after Skizik put a ride on it. Here it's going to be returned. The Flyers with a chance at a push across, and this one into the net almost. It gets across, and the Pioneers had 2 blockers, but they were jumping, and then the ball was tapped across as the player's falling back down. That's really hard to recover your body weight and then try and send it over. The Flyers win a point on a smart play by Van Risingham at the net.
Everything going the right for the Flyers right now.
And they've got a 17-6 lead, but you don't want to play with fire for Little Falls' vantage point. You kind of got to put it away now, up 17-6. You want to put Pierz away because if Pierz comes back and wins game 3, all bets are off in games 4 and 5 because they would obviously have claimed the momentum. So Little Falls a chance here. Tembrell with the serve, and this one is out of bounds as it goes off of Porter. Another ace for Tembrell. Sammy Tembrell, there was the 1 point in between, or 1 or 2 points in between, where the Flyers had to win a point, but Tembrell with another ace, her 4th in this series of points, and the score is now 18-6 in game number 3.
It's a very opportunistic untied shoelace on the Pierz side.
You know what? There could be some gamesmanship there, and if there is, so be it. You know, you've got a server on fire.
You got to do something to break that momentum. Absolutely.
Break the momentum, and if that's the case, hey, some credit to the senior, Ashlyn Libby.
Thought about it. Now, if that's what it was, I don't know.
And then Tembrell ended up hitting it to Libby. The Pioneers send it across, but Little Falls a chance now to play it over. Riley pushed it over. The Pioneers saved one away from going in the net and then pushed across. And the point won by Lashinsky as she went through a couple of blockers up near the net. Van Risingham and maybe Riley or Skisik that were close by. So the point goes Pierz's way. Was it gamesmanship or was it just a smart play? Or an opportune untied shoelace, either way. But Pierz, an unforced error that time. Daylor put it into the net. You know, Pierz has a young team too, Robin. They've only got 5 seniors, and they've got a bulk of players, sophomores and juniors too. Steinmetz serves this one deep. A set by Rushlow. Block at the net by the Pioneers, our Flyers. Another set by Rushlow, and then a spike by Lashinsky, but it went out of bounds wide. Little Falls with the point.
Hannah Creek had the big swing there, but Kanopik timed her jump perfectly to block it back.
20-7 is the score. Little Falls 5 points away from a match win here tonight at Flyer Gymnasium. A double hit is called. That might have been Lashinsky trying to set it right there, and she just got time for it. We've seen it both teams. It's been called a lot tonight, but you just got to be really careful about how you hit the ball. It can't be uneven.
It's interesting how when you watch Allie Steinmetz serve here, one of the coaches, the assistant coaches from the Flyers, gives signals to the players on where to serve, and I think Allie is one of those that can hit those spots.
And she does there, but it's still returned by the Pioneers, and Hannah Creek with the put away. She put that one towards the left side of the court as she was looking at it, that far side towards the students there at Flyer Gymnasium. 21-8 in Game 3 after Little Falls won Games 1 and 2. This is a regular season section matchup. Little Falls fresh off their tournament win in Long Prairie this past Saturday. Steinmetz, and this one gets sent over by Ginter. Diker with the set, and it's spiked. Is it in or out? It is out. And the point goes Little Falls' way. That was so close right there on the sideline. But the official was staring down at the end line, and you just got to take her word for it.
Pylon camera to get that one.
And that one, hey, you know what? You saw it on Flyer Media Productions back at home, too. I'm curious what you thought. Taylor Jordan now with a service ace as Hebler dove after it, but you know what? That could be one of those plays where if you're watching the signals, if she puts it right where they aren't, and Jordan found a soft spot in the coverage. Now 23-8, Little Falls 2 points away from a possible match victory. Pierz with a spike, and this one's blocked at the net partially, but the Flyers will set it up with a bump set spike.
Good save from Skisik.
And Skisik avoided hitting the net, kind of drew herself into the pole, but she can do that. Now a tap across at the net. The Pioneers, this is Emily Diker with the send across.
Good save.
The Flyer Skisik is going to get called for the double hit, and that's point Pierz, 23-9. Pierz now in front here, or excuse me, Little Falls in front, but Pierz got that last point. Little Falls controlling game number 3, trying to win the matchup. Taylor Jordan with a bump towards the middle of the court, and watching this one go over her head was Ashlyn Libby as Skisik sent it long. Libby wanted to hit it and then drew her arms down because she realized where she was standing and saw that one was going long.
Libby with the service again to Skisik.
And now Jordan with the set, and this one sent across. It's going to go long, and if it wasn't touched at the net, it will be a point Pierz. So Ashlyn Libby, she had a couple of points that she served into the net. You talked about how she had to recover, and here's that opportunity late in the game. Pierz needs her to come through. 23-11 the score. Jordan with a bump at the net, and then another point won by the Pioneers. Creek right there at the net, side by side with Jaden Schmea. And Pierz has rattled off 3 points in a row now, 23-12, but still down by 9. Libby served this one, and it went wide. She was looking for the corner, and she missed wide left. And
Coach Johnson has a couple of our younger players there in the front row now, so they're a little more inexperienced, but this is a good time to get them some experience.
24-12, Little Falls game, set, match point. And this one is spiked across by Hannah Creek, and we continue to play on 24-13.
Here's the crazy thing about rally scoring. Pierz has to serve 11 in a row now to stay in the game.
Yep, Abby Post, because if she misses a point, this is still match
over,
point. 24-13, and it's Emily Daler at the service line. Steinmetz to Jordan, back to Steinmetz, who sends it across. The Pioneers get called for a carry, and that's the match. They were in the net, excuse me. They got called for into the net, and that's 25-13, and that's the final here in game number 3. So Little Falls wins 1, 2, and 3 in order, 25-19, 25-20, and 25-13. We're going to come back and continue our coverage here from Flyer Gymnasium. Our post-game coverage is next, and that'll be on Flyer Media Productions at 92.1 FM WYRQ, fallsradio.com, after a word from our sponsors.
Hi, everyone. This is Kelsey Meyer from Flex Therapy. If you're having surgery, and relieved when they find out they can do their rehabilitation right here in Pierz. From rotator cuff repairs, total joint replacements, and neck and back surgeries, we rehab it all. Just ask your doctor to send your referral to Select Therapy. And rest assured, our highly trained staff will work closely with your surgeon to deliver the exact care you need.
This season.
I would agree with you, Corey. They really played a nice, clean game for the most part. Didn't miss very many serves. Can't remember very many at all. And for the most part, they played the Pierz serves cleanly. They got the bump set spike, and every once in a while, you know, Pierz got them out of their game. But for the most part, Little Falls was able to right their ship, so to speak, and get out of a 2 or 3 point funk maybe that they were in. Pierz hurt themselves a little bit with unforced errors, with the missed serves and some of the hits into the net. And like you said, they're both young teams, and those are things that you can keep working on and fix and get better. But like Coach Andrews said too at the beginning of the game, that was one of the things that their keys to victory. And she's going to have to come back to practice, and that's going to be some of those things they're going to have to work on.
Yeah, and both teams will continue to work on it. It wasn't a perfect game for Little Falls.
No.
You know, don't let this happen where you're thinking, boy, you won a game, so now you've got nothing to work on in practice.
Right.
There's only a week or so left of the regular season. They'll be looking at the playoffs. They've got 3 games remaining, including it is senior night coming up on Thursday when Little Falls is hosting Foley. They've got games remaining on the road, St. Cloud Cathedral and Albany. The fact that they've won 5 in a row, though, now dating back to 4-0 last Saturday, a tournament championship, and now here tonight, you've got to be feeling good about where they are playing as a team in Little Falls' side.
Right. And 3 tough matchups coming up. Foley is a really improved team this year, then beat Little Falls 3-0 the first time they played. Cathedral, Little Falls played with Cathedral just last week and stayed with them for the first 2 games, very similar to this actually, and then Cathedral kind of took it to them in the 3rd game. And Cathedral's only lost 1 match all year, and then Albany's always a powerhouse team, so Little Falls certainly has their work cut out for them with their last 3 matches. If they want to keep momentum going into playoffs, it's going to be really important for them to maintain the competitive balance that they had with these next 3 matches.
And let's not just completely overshadow the fact you'll win some, you'll lose some, but you want to continue to play well and continue to be what you are. Little Falls did a good job. We talked a little bit tonight about the unforced errors for Pierz's side, and they'll walk away thinking, boy, what could have been. They didn't play quite as clean of a game as they wished, gave away some points at the service line, or just miscommunications. But what that might highlight with both of these teams so young as they are is not that Pierz made some of those mistakes, but that's something we didn't see Little Falls do much of tonight. So instead of criticizing one ball club, we should maybe look at Little Falls and say, hey, this was not a game where they had a lot of serves out of bounds. They didn't have those miscommunications. There was talking on the court, and that's a good sign with the playoffs right around the corner.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. They played relatively clean for the most part. And really, you look at those first 2 games, if Pierz eliminates a couple of those mistakes, they're right in there. There was a 5-point, each of them were 5 or 6 points. You take a couple of those points away that they gave up, and now you're looking at a 22, 22, 22, or 23, 23 game. And who knows, you know, at the end, they both have good servers throughout their rotation. So, you know, just a couple of things right there, you know, on the Pioneer side, and you're right back in it and being able to compete with another section opponent.
Yeah, and for Pierz's vantage point, this one hurts a little bit as they were 14th in the section, but they were looking to try and get a win to bump themselves, bump Little Falls down a little bit, have the head-to-head tiebreaker. They thought they could even leapfrog Little Falls coming into tonight if they would have had a different result. So that's why it was even just as important for Little Falls to win this particular matchup. But you're looking at the section, there's teams 1 through 16 coming into tonight, albeit the website was not completely accurate with all the scores and QRF rankings from last Saturday, but as I had seen online, Little Falls was today ranked number 11 out of 16 teams, Pierz 14. The Pioneers still have an opportunity to move up or down a little bit. They're close with a few clubs, not likely to move down much because they've had the 5 wins, and that's a few more than some of the other ball clubs. Right. But Little Falls' standpoint, they're getting into that thick of things where they might be able to jump up and even be a number 10 or one of those 8-9 seeds.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen down the stretch.
If they can pick up 1, or if they can win 2 of their next 3, there's a possibility they could leapfrog into there and maybe have a home game that first round of the playoffs with the 8-9 game.
Wouldn't that be special for this year's club? Whether they get it or not, they've had a nice year, and tonight's win is another step in Carmen Johnson when she talked about in the pregame coverage. This team wanted to go 500 or better this year, and this was a nice victory for them. If they wanted to accomplish the goal, this is the kind of game they need to win. Little Falls did tonight at the expense of another Morrison County team, the Pierz Pioneers. I also want to thank the Flyer Media Productions helping out tonight. Mark Deal, Anthony Ingalls, Owen Kirker, and Adam Petrick are helping out with the broadcast. They were on Flyer Media Productions, and Little Falls Radio also broadcasting tonight's matchup, 92.1 FM, WRQ, and fallsradio.com. What we're going to do with Christina back as our game engineer, we're going to take one more break and come back. We'll have our Pizza Ranch Player of the Game award. We'll be able to give away either a buffet or pizza to the Pizza Ranch, and we'll do that next before we wrap things up. Little Falls wins in straight sets, 25-19, 25-20, 25-13. Little Falls victorious. Pizza Ranch Player of the Game next on Flyer Media Productions and Little Falls Radio.
Hello, Pioneer fans. This is Zach Trout, member of the Pierz football team.
A lot of different avenues to look at. Since this is the first time we've had a volleyball matchup on the airways for Little Falls or Pierz, we'll just look at the player of the game overall. There were some choices, and looking at the night, Little Falls obviously had the better night, sticking on their side with the Pizza Ranch Player of the Game. And 2 players that we wanted to mention, one in particular that we're going to give it to, we'll hold off on mentioning her name for a second, but I wanted to make sure to mention Kirsten Knopik because Kristen had a fantastic game. Not going to be be our player of the game this time, but she's probably going to have that opportunity here in the near future too, because I was very impressed with her. Robin, you've seen a few more of her games this year. Talk about her as a player, a special talent, only a sophomore.
She started playing a little bit last year as a freshman, and this year she's really improved a lot, improved her swing. Her serve was good already last year, but just her approach and how she's hitting the ball with so much confidence, it seems like this year. She gets her hands on a lot of blocks. Yeah, she's got a chance. She's young. She's only a sophomore. And she's got a couple of good setters getting her the ball, too. Kaylee and Taylor are both getting her the ball in places where she can hit the ball. Maddie Van Rissingham had 10 kills tonight, too, and got her hand on a lot of blocks. So the Flyers do have something to work with on that front line, and working with some of these other younger ones now, that the more hits they get, the more attempts they get, the more confidence they get built up. That's going to bode well for the future and bode well into our player of the game.
Yeah, and we talked about Kanopik, her serving, but the reason we're going to go with another player for our Pizza Ranch player of the game will receive either a buffet or pizza, her choice, is because of the serving. The Flyers kind of put this one away with the service, and it was ace after ace. There were timeouts. In fact, the Pioneers even tried tying a shoe late in the game to throw her off. Nothing was really impacting her. Had a fantastic game all around on the court, especially serving, and I'm talking about Sammy Tembrell, who will be our Pizza Ranch player of the game. Final words on Sammy. What did you think about her effort tonight, Robin?
Yeah, Sammy's another one. She's one of those outside hitters that's going to have to continue to improve for the Flyers to get better. Sammy comes up with 6 ace serves. I think 5 of them were in that last little run there that kind of put the game away. It was 6-6, I think, when she got the ball, and when she was done serving, it was 17-6.
Yeah, and Little Falls ended up just going on a rally. You got to help. She needed a little help with some of the players around her.
A couple great hustle plays.
Had about 4 or 5 aces during that run right there, and that was a big reason Little Falls was able to win. There were some close games early, but Little Falls came out on top. Some unforced errors for Pierz, but Little Falls just not committing those errors. Consistency was another thing Carmen Johnson talked about tonight before the contest, and we saw that tonight. Consistency, an overall great effort, and congratulations to the Little Falls Flyers. I believe that was their 13th win on the season. Well, once again, a thank you from the radio station standpoint, a thank you to our game engineer, Christina. We're about to hear from all of our sponsors supporting Little Falls and Pierz Sports tonight on Little Falls Radio. Flyer Media Productions, they're excellent to work with. We're going to be working with them, the radio station and Flyer Media Productions, teaming up on Friday with the home football game, Little Falls and New London Spicer. They've got another broadcast on the docket on Thursday too. So Little Falls and swimming, that'll come up on Thursday. We're looking forward to a lot of broadcasts. Congratulations, Little Falls Flyer volleyball team. Pierz, hey, it's just a regular season matchup. There's still a tomorrow for them, and they'll have a chance to recover. But tonight, it was owned by the Little Falls Flyers, winning in straight sets 25-19, 25-20, and 25-13. For Robin Pullman, this is Corey Fink. Hope you've enjoyed this evening's broadcast on Little Falls Radio and Flyer Media Productions. Good night, everyone.